Have you seen the hot frugal trends for 2025 yet? Today I am talking about my 4 top frugal trends and one hot tip. These top frugal trends have piqued the interest of baby boomers, Gen Xers, and millennials because they're scared to go broke. There are a lot of political uncertainties that could change the landscape of Social Security. And there's a big FIRE movement. The younger generation has a deep focus and concentration on being financially independent to retire early. So if you have already started living a more frugal lifestyle, or you haven't started thinking about a more frugal lifestyle, it's not too late. It's not too late to do more, and it's not too late to make some serious decisions. Some serious decisions that will lead to your financial freedom. And I want that for you, and I want that for me. So let's get started. Here's my first tip. Now, I could talk to you about downsizing your home and whether you're now an empty nester or you find that financially maybe you want to make a change and downsize your home. That's not what this video is about. This video is about making small changes that make big results. The first tip is the trend to start declining streaming services. Now, about the time of COVID, it was really convenient to start memberships with streaming services such as Hulu and YouTube and Netflix. Now, if you started those streaming services and you still have them, there is accumulation of costs associated with belonging to that membership. And consumers that want all access to those streaming services, and over the years, the price just continues to increase. So I had to take a look at my streaming services and put a value to them. Do I really need them, or can they go? And much like other people's responses, it was time for them to go. I started dropping the non-essential streaming services. Now, there are a lot of other options that are out there to get free streaming services, and you just got to look for them. And maybe it's just at your local library. Now, last year, we said bye-bye to Netflix. Now, that may seem like a small decision to drop a streaming services such as Netflix, but it ended up by making some big results, by savings month after month and year after year. I just want to remind you to stay to the end for that hot tip. I've got a couple more tips to go through with you for those top frugal living tips. So tip number 2 does not have to deal with downsizing your car. That can make some real significant changes to a more frugal living, but that's not the particular trend I'm going to talk about today. The trend I'm going to talk about today is to take a look at your subscription, your retail subscription services. And that can be anything from magazines to Lightroom to Canva to food, clothing memberships such as FabFitFun or Stitch Fix. And there are so many other businesses that are trying to capture a monthly subscription from you right now. And it's time to evaluate whether or not you are getting the value out of that subscription service, or if you need to just get rid of it. So there's really 2 reasons I am struggling with the retail subscription services. And the first one is the cost. If it's not going to fit in my budget, that's one of the first things I'm going to be taking a look at and just removing. Now, the second one is that I feel as though they are on my payroll. And if I am going to spend that kind of money for something, maybe there's a better way that I can invest that money. And to find that balance where I could take $29.99 a month in a clothing subscription or take that $29.99 and put it into a Roth IRA for my retirement, there has to be some consideration on how that money is leaving your household. And I feel in my retirement and my frugal living style right now, I'm going to take that money right now and invest it into that Roth IRA. So it's a personal choice, sure, but what value do you want to get out of it, and make those decisions as soon as you can. One of the top things that bothers me too about these retail subscriptions and memberships is that it's very difficult to get out of them once you started. It's so easy to get into these subscriptions and memberships. I can't understand why it's so difficult to get out of them. This year I said bye-bye to all magazine subscriptions. Those are all gone. I now can get them at the library if I need to get them. I have a library card now. I'm a proud owner of a library card. Okay, that was tip number 2. We're off to tip number 3. Now, I could talk to you about starting a side hustle, and I do have a side hustle on eBay and Etsy where I sell merchandise and ship it out from my home, but that's not what this video is about. But you could make that decision for yourself. This third frugal living trend is about groceries. I went back to last year, and year over year from the year previous, my groceries went up 30%. Now, I had to take a deep breath, and this became a pretty serious consideration about the use of our budget in our household. I feel like we reached that tipping point. So I am making decisions on cutting some things right out of our grocery budget. They are things I'm no longer going to be spending the money on to help reduce the costs of our groceries. Now, that pressure of looking at our grocery bill year over year forced me to really take a look at what was not being used in our pantry, or things that weren't healthy and added to our lifestyle or our life in a positive way. So here are just 5 examples. This year I'm saying bye-bye to pre-cut veggies and fruits. So all that plastic pre-cut vegetables and veggies, I'm no longer buying anymore. Everything is going to be in a natural form, and I can do, since I'm retired and I have time, I can cut my own vegetables and my own fruit in my own home. The second thing, I am no longer buying pre-made hummus. I am making hummus at home now. The third thing is no more coffee creamer in any form, whether it's a powder or a liquid. Coffee creamer has been removed from our grocery bill. I am now using oat milk because we use oat milk in our smoothies in the morning. So I feel like I'm getting more value out of that purchase by using it in multiple ways. So all that coffee creamer is gone. Now, the fourth thing we removed from our grocery bill is ice cream. We removed that one because we were eating ice cream almost every night, and that just wasn't healthy for us anymore. And we were trying to lose a couple of pounds, and yet we were still being indulgent in ice cream. And that conflict finally reached a tipping point to where we said, okay, no more ice cream, and we just bit the bullet on that one. We don't buy ice cream anymore. The fifth thing that we're no longer buying in our grocery bill or grocery shopping is bread or frozen pizza. We make our own pizza at home, and we make our own bread. We make our own sourdough bread. And that is a smarter way to use our money. So we use our sourdough bread recipe for so much more. for toast in the morning, an appetizer with bread and oil and vinegar. It's just one way we used one thing for more purposes, and we use it for our pizza dough. Now, I think these trends are more likely going to accelerate, and I think that the consumer habits are going to be altered, hopefully, to push the grocery stores to adjust their pricing to consumers. I continue to be shocked. Now, I have the time to take a look at the grocery flyers now, and this one hit me pretty hard. I just couldn't believe it. And I'm just going to show it to you or try to insert a picture. I looked at this and I saw that goldfish were going for $9.50. And I was like, goldfish? I don't know what those young kids are eating anymore, because we had goldfish at schools. We used to use goldfish to teach elementary school kids how to count, and they got to eat the goldfish as a reward. Now, yeah, sure, things change over time, but goldfish? $9.50? You lost me. Okay, that was tip number 3, and now we're off to tip number 4, and that is to embrace the no spend challenge. Now, that is a very strong trend right now for frugal living. If you haven't started a no spend challenge, you can start it anytime. And I started it in January because I really just learned about it over the last like 6 months, and I've been taking a look at it and seeing if maybe it's a possible thing for me in my own home. It forces you to take a look at your habits. It promotes some financial discipline, and it's a way for you to save money. So I'm trying it. Now, you can do the no spend challenge for a year. You can do it for 6 months. You can do it for a month. You can do it for a week. If nothing else, just try to do it for a day whenever you can. And that's kind of how I'm doing it. It is now January 13th, and I have had 3 no spend days. Now, it is forcing me to think a little more strategic about the way that I'm spending money, and it's forcing me to try to achieve more days. So I may not have jumped right into the challenge, but I am trying it, and I feel I can be more successful as I go along. Like, I'm building on my skills on how to be more aware of how I'm spending my money every day. Now, I have already put the whoa Nelly on the tomfoolery, because I have already implemented 5 ways that I am taking a look at my budget more strategically, and that's helping me with my no spend challenge. Now, the first decision I made this year was to track everything to help get my budget more refined. You know, I had a budget last year and maybe it got a little loose, and I can refine it more this year, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So I have my budget book. Not only do I have my budget book, but I am having those deeper conversations with my husband, and he knows and he wants to have a tighter look at our budget so he can understand where all this money goes in and out of our house. Now, the second goal you might already know, it's I want to reduce my grocery bill by 30% this year, and that is to just kind of even the playing field from last year where things got too out of control, and that's where they got loose last year in my budget. So that's a goal for this year. I want to level the playing field for my grocery bill and try to reduce it 30%, and I feel as though that's going to be a difficult goal, and that no spend challenge might help me. My third strategy is to have things I completely cut out of the budget, like Netflix and ice cream. Sorry, I know there's a joke there somewhere. That just got weird. Number 4 is to find free things to do. And that comes relatively easy around in Florida because we can go to free events at the beach and in our local community. There's a lot to do to get us outside and more active. And in January, I got my library card. So I'm really looking forward to using a lot of the benefits of a library card. So I've already used it for scanning documents that I send to my accountant and my financial advisor. I'm looking forward to streaming movies. And the last free thing I really am enjoying is utilizing the great outdoors by just simply getting out and walking and getting to parks. All that is free. Now, the fifth thing I'm doing as one of my strategies is to reduce my bills. And I have not taken a look at reducing my bills in probably 10 years. And I'm talking about health insurance, car insurance, utility bills, those things that regularly come into the house that I do want to keep in my budget, but I want to reduce by some measure, a dollar or a percentage wise. Now, I have already reduced my healthcare costs. This year, I went from about $500 a month to about $325 a month. That makes me happy because I know that this can be done. This is totally achievable. All right, you made it through the last tip, and so here we are at my bonus. Oh, I talked about this a little bit earlier in the video, and now I'm going to talk about it with you a little bit deeper. If you don't have a budget, you need to start a budget. In some measure, start a budget. Last year I had a budget that was a little more loose, and this year I said I'm going to be a little more refined in how I track our money in and out of the house, and how I'm going to map it, and how I am going to plan for major purchases. And the one thing I purchased is I purchased a budget book, and it's a paper form that has everything in one book so that my husband can take a look at it and I can take a look at it, and it's right in front of us every day. Now, not only that, I have a second book, and the second book has to do with our home maintenance. Okay, here's my first book. So this is my 2025 budget book, and in it I have my financial goals. First one was make a budget, and then it goes month by month. So here you can see I have a no spend day right here, and then it has a bunch of my goals for the month. And forgive me if I'm looking down, I'm just reading up my book. And then it has notes on things that I want to achieve. It has my bill tracker, has my expense tracker. Then it's going to have my monthly budget review and some notes. And then here are some of my ideas and brainstormings that I'm just going to work on or make as goals for the next month or the next year. I have a to-do list. And then this is my subscriptions. And these are the things that I'm taking a look at to see what could be cut out or that is providing value into our home. Okay, this is my second book. It's my deluxe home maintenance logbook. And I had to go back years on our home and put a lot of information in, but it's totally going to be worth it at the end. And that's one of the first pages right here is like what expenses we made over the last years. But the most important part is, when does something come up next for possibly being replaced? So here's our fridge and when we purchased it, how much it cost, and how long it may last. So eventually, I know that in 11 years, based on my book, I'm going to have to look at replacing my refrigerator, and I've got to put that in my budget, my other book, for when the time comes. It has when we purchased the home, it has a maintenance log, has a great handy checklist, has important phone numbers that I'm going to fill in, and a lot of this information is going to be great for my daughter. So if something happens to us and she needs to look back on this house and give information to a real estate agent or to a potential buyer, or if she just wants this information, it's going to be there for her. All she has to do is pull out this book. And now I hope that this video has helped you in some small way and start your own frugal living trend in your own house. Find the right fit for you. Bye for now.